Imagine a future, maybe not even that far off, where a computer writes a novel that, well, everyone wants to read, or maybe composes a symphony that truly rivals Beethoven. For decades, that stuff was pure science fiction, right? But today, I mean, look at tools like ChatGPT, DALL-E AI is actually composing poetry, generating art. And sometimes, honestly, it's hard to tell it apart from human work. And this really blurs a line, doesn't it? A line we thought was, uniquely human, creativity. You've sent over a really fascinating stack of sources delving right into this question. Can machines really be creative? So today we're going to be unpacking articles and research from places like the Futurama blog, Salzburg Global, Sammy Tang, Indie AI, PMC, and the Oxford Internet Institute. Quite a mix.
Yeah, it's a great set. And our mission today, really, is to get beyond the headlines. We want to explore what creativity actually is, how AI is working in these creative fields right now, and importantly, what's the real impact? On human artists, on learners. We'll look at it from scientific and psychological angles, hear straight from artists who are actually using these tools. And we'll dive into some data that shows both, well, really exciting opportunities, but also some potential downsides. The goal isn't just what AI can do, but maybe more importantly, why does it matter? For how we see creativity, maybe even humanity itself.
Okay, so if you've ever looked at those incredible AI images or read some compelling AI text and just wondered, is that truly creative? Or, what does this tech mean for my own creative potential? Then yeah, this deep dive is definitely for you. We're sort of setting off on a journey here, exploring this new era of human-machine collaboration. Okay, let's unpack this.
Defining creativity, the human spark versus the algorithmic output.
Right, let's start at the beginning, a really foundational question. What do we actually mean when we say creativity? Our sources, they generally point to a common definition, something like the use of imagination or original ideas to create something. Pretty straightforward on the surface.
That sounds simple enough.
But when you dig a bit deeper, psychology tells us it's not just about making anything. It's about producing something that's both novel, new, different, and also meaningful. It has to have some kind of value or significance. And this is, the spark behind all sorts of breakthroughs, not just in art, but in science everywhere. It feels like a very human thing.
So it's the intent and the impact, not just the act of producing. And our sources really emphasize imagination for humans, don't they? That ability for original thought. Even if we don't fully understand how our brains do that original thinking, it seems key. There needs to be, as one source put it, some level of thought and significance or meaning. Otherwise, yeah, it's just noise, a mess.
Exactly. A mess, or that random word soup idea. And another crucial piece here is originality. Just copying something, well, that's not creative. It needs our own interpretation or special touch. For humans, imagination often comes from associations, right? We see something, hear something, feel something, and then we filter it. Through our own perceptions, our emotions, our beliefs, our memories. That filter, that lens of our humanity, that's what gives our creations unique meaning. And that brings up a huge question for AI.
Can an algorithm replicate that deeply personal filter?
Precisely. Can it have that subjective experience that shapes human originality?
Because when you look at AI today, I mean, it seems incredibly creative sometimes. We're seeing these leaps in speech recognition, image generation, machine learning, natural language. It looks like creativity.
Yeah.
But how does it actually do it? Is it thinking like we do?
Yeah.
Or is it something else entirely?
Yeah, what's really fascinating and maybe a bit counterintuitive is how generative AI actually works. It uses these machine learning algorithms, basically learning a huge set of rules by analyzing massive, massive amounts of existing data. Think text, images, music. Then it applies those learned rules, those patterns, to create something new based on an input, what we call a prompt.
Okay, so it's learning from what already exists.
Exactly. It's pattern recognition and synthesis on a massive scale. Think about that sun haiku example from the sources. An AI gets trained on maybe thousands, millions of descriptions of the sun. It learns, okay, the sun is associated with a hot, big, yellow, faraway life. So when GPT-4 was asked for a sun haiku, it produced. Golden orb ascends, warmth embraces earth below, life awakes with light.
Right.
And the source made a good point. It's actually quite tricky for a human to cram all those distinct ideas, the appearance, the feeling, the effect, into just 17 syllables like that. It shows its power in synthesis.
But it's not just about learning from data and spitting it back out in new combinations, is it? The sources mentioned more advanced methods, too.
Right, it gets more complex. There are techniques specifically designed for, well, machine innovation, if you want to call it that.
Like those GANs.
Yeah.
Generative adversarial networks.
Exactly. GANs are really interesting. You basically have two AIs playing this game. One, the generator, creates something, an image, maybe some music. The other, the discriminator, acts like a critic. It assesses it, gives feedback. And over many rounds, this kind of back and forth pushes the generator to create things that are more complex, more unique, trying to fool the discriminator.
So they sort of teach each other to get better, or at
Yeah.
least more complex.
In a way, yes, more complex, often more novel within the bounds of what they've learned.
And then there was reinforcement learning, too. That sounded a bit different.
Yeah, with reinforcement learning, the machine gets rewarded for producing unique or unexpected results. It's less about critique and more about encouraging novelty directly. That's the principle behind Google's Deep Dream program, the one that made those really bizarre and hallucinogenic pictures. It was basically rewarded for finding and amplifying strange patterns in images.
Ah, okay. So finding unexpected connections in the data.
Exactly. So putting it all together, whether it's learning from vast data, the GANs playing their game, or reinforcement learning pushing boundaries, AI can definitely generate stuff that looks and feels creative. It can be surprising, beautiful, useful even, but that core question still hangs in the air. Is it real creativity like ours? Or is it something fundamentally different, just very, very good at simulation?
Right. So, okay, it makes a haiku. It makes these deep dream images. Does that mean it has new ideas? Does it have imagination in the way we mean it? Is it conceiving or just assembling?
And this is really where the philosophical and maybe psychological line gets drawn. No matter how impressive that poem or image is, an AI's output is fundamentally built from those blocks it learned from its training data. It doesn't have that capability for truly original thought, the kind of spark that comes from, well, seemingly nowhere sometimes in humans. That's why some experts call it algorithmic creativity. It's brilliant at combining existing things in new ways, but it can't really start from a blank canvas or defy its core programming.
So, like you said earlier, a master remixer maybe, but not the original songwriter.
That's a really good analogy, I think. It captures that distinction well. Because humans, we filter everything through our own unique perspective, our feelings, our specific memories, our, lived experiences. Our sources really stress this point. AI doesn't have unique personal feelings, emotions, or recollections about the sun when it writes that haiku.
It just knows the word associations.
Exactly. It's making mechanical and probabilistic connections based on the data it ingested. It knows golden orb often appears near sun and warmth. This is why some people describe it as an illusion of creativity. The output feels creative to us, but maybe it's better understood as a very sophisticated imitation, or maybe an extension of our ability to communicate and evoke feelings, rather than something originating within the machine.
And I think one source even said that without humans feeding it data, tools like DALL-E or GPT-4 would just create, what was it, random word soup or a toddler's scrawls.
Right. It highlights the dependency on human-generated input.
So it seems like that ultimate question, can AI truly match or surpass human creativity? That's still very much a philosophical debate, tied up with consciousness, intent, all those big questions, at least for now.
Absolutely. We haven't cracked that one yet.
The artist's perspective, AI as collaborator, partner, or threat.
And, this whole conversation about AI and art, it feels very current, very urgent, but it's actually not entirely new territory. Art and technology have always sort of danced together. Think about, I don't know, the invention of oil paints or new types of pigments or even just drawing tools, cameras.
Right. Each technological shift changed what artists could do, how they did it.
Exactly. Each invention led to new aesthetics, new practices. Artists adapt, they explore the new possibilities.
And the sources remind us that people were experimenting with computers and art way back, right? Like in the 1960s.
That's right. Artists like Vera Molnar, Harold Cohen, they were pioneers, already testing the creative potential of machines decades ago.
So AI, even powerful generative AI, is maybe just the latest chapter in this long story of art and tech evolving together. A very big chapter, maybe, but still part of that history.
I think that's a fair way to look at it. A significant leap, but on a continuum.
Okay, so let's get into what artists are saying now, the ones actually using these tools. The sources bring us right to the creative frontier, and yeah, the perspectives are really diverse, aren't they? Really nuanced. This is where it gets fascinating, seeing how it plays out in practice.
Definitely. That Salzburg Global Program, Creating Futures, Art and AI for Tomorrow's Narratives, gathered artists from all over, and their views are illuminating. Take Amy Carl, an American artist. She's been working with AI and generative design for years, since 2015, actually. She sees AI as a key partner.
A partner, okay.
Yeah, she talks about the synergy between the artist's intuition, their creativity, their critical thinking, and then AI's analytical power. She feels this combination opens up new realms of possibility. For her, it's human imagination that gives AI its direction and purpose. The AI assists, it doesn't lead.
Interesting. So the human is still firmly in the driver's seat.
That's her perspective. Then you have someone like Kira Zonorica, a Paraguayan artist. She uses AI to explore world building, creating these vibrant characters. She's interested in the cross-pollination processes that occur with the machine and the strength of symbiosis in co-creation. It sounds like she really embraces that back and forth.
Symbiosis, cross-pollination. Sounds very collaborative.
It does. And then there's Barbara Kaliesa Manishi, a Kenyan filmmaker and photographer. She used AI tools like Runway for post-production on her film Inheritance. She sees AI as an ally, something that helps her articulate ideas and solutions. It creates additional space for play and experimentation, which is interesting. But she also still values traditional analog art forms, so it's a tool alongside others.
An ally for articulation and play. That's a nice way to put it.
But not all artists are purely focused on synergy or assistance. Eddie Wong, a Malaysian artist and filmmaker, used text-to-image AI for his film Portrait of the Jungle People. His take is more critical. He says, and this is quite pointed, all AI art is about AI. It reflects back on the technology itself, its potentials, and its limitations.
So the medium is the message, in a way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He uses AI almost as a subject in itself, a way to question technology's impact on us, on memory, on human life. The tool becomes part of the commentary.
But that's a very different angle.
It is. And then you have Mona Gamil, an Egypt-based digital and performance artist. She wrote AI Confessions.
Huh.
She acknowledges AI is just here. It's a matter of fact as an idea, as your new job competition, as a specter or bogeyman. You can feel the mix of excitement and caution reflecting the anxieties many people feel.
Yeah, that captures the tension, doesn't it? The promise and the fear, all rolled into one. So it's definitely not a simple picture. Artists aren't just saying AI is bad or AI is great. Many are jumping in, using it as a tool, a collaborator, even a subject for critique. But bringing AI into the studio like this, it must raise some really fundamental questions for the art world itself.
Oh, absolutely. Integrating AI into brainstorming, creation, post-production, it's fundamentally reshaping how art gets made. And these artists, the ones we just talked about, they're right at the forefront of this shift. And it forces the whole community, really all of us, to grapple with some pretty big questions.
Yeah, the sources brought up some key ones, like authorship. If AI is a key partner who actually authored the final piece, is it the human, the AI, both?
Right. Where does the creative credit lie?
And that ties directly into value. How do we assess art made with AI compared to art made only by human hands? Does the process affect its worth artistically or commercially?
Does the perceived effort or skill change?
And then there's the impact on artistic labor. What happens to traditional skills? What does it mean for artists' jobs? Are we looking at displacement or just a shift in required skills, like needing to be a good prompt engineer instead of a good painter?
These are massive questions, and that Oxford Internet Institute report, it tried to offer some perspective. They emphasized that while AI brings new affordances, new ways of doing things, the core creativity involved in art making, they argue, remains beyond the capabilities of current ML technology.
So the human element is still irreplaceable in their view.
That's their argument. They suggest the fundamental relationship between the artist and their medium, even if that medium involved complex algorithms, is essentially unchanged. But they strongly call for critical discussion, for responsible and inclusive ways to handle this powerful tech.
Sure.
We need to talk about it openly and honestly.
Yeah, it makes sense. We can't just let it happen without thinking through the consequences.
The data dive. What research reveals about AI's impact on creativity?
Okay, so we've heard from individual artists grappling with these tools. Now let's zoom out. What does the bigger picture, the large-scale data, tell us? Is generative AI actually having a measurable impact on creative output? Is it making artists, better in some quantifiable way? Or maybe just faster?
Well, there's a really interesting study cited in our sources that tried to tackle exactly that. They looked at a huge data set, over 4 million artworks from more than 50,000 users. And crucially, they identified about 5,800 artists who adopted AI tools.
Well, okay, that's a lot of data points. What did they find?
Some pretty significant things. First, let's talk creative productivity. The artists who adopted text-to-image AI tools, they saw an immediate 50% increase in productivity, like right after they started using it.
50%,
Yeah.
straight away.
And then get this, that productivity boost doubled in the following month.
Doubles again.
So in practical terms, it meant they published about 7 extra pieces in the first month of using AI, and then 15 extra pieces in the second month compared to before.
That's huge. It really suggests AI is automating a big chunk of the actual making process, the execution stage, as the source called it.
Seems that way. It allows artists to get more ideas out there faster. Then they looked at creative value. How do you measure that? Well, they used favorites per view on the platform as a proxy for peer evaluation, how much other users liked the work.
Okay, a measure of appreciation or resonance.
Right. And they found that artworks created by the AI adopters consistently got 50% more favorable evaluations from their peers, but it took a little time, about 3 months after adoption. Their average favorites per view went from about 2% before AI up to a steady 3% after using AI for a while.
So more output, and that output is, on average, more appreciated by the community, at least by that metric. That sounds like a win-win on the surface.
It does seem positive initially. More work, more recognition.
But does that automatically mean more creativity, more truly original ideas? Or is there maybe a catch to all this efficiency and appreciation? Could it be leading somewhere less diverse?
Now you're hitting on the really complex part. This is where the data reveals a potential paradox. The study dug deeper, looking at 2 specific types of novelty. First, content novelty. This basically measures the uniqueness of the subject matter, the main things depicted in the artwork and how they relate to each other. Are they exploring new themes, new combinations of objects? And second, visual novelty. This looks at the style itself, the pixel level stuff. Are they developing unique aesthetic styles?
Okay, 2 kinds of novelty. What's in the picture and how the picture looks. So what happened with content novelty? Did AI users come up with more unique ideas?
Well, here's the twist. The average content novelty among those AI adopters actually started to decrease over time.
Decrease. So the ideas became more similar.
On average, yes. The focal objects, the themes in the new artworks they created became progressively more alike compared to artists who weren't using AI. It suggests a tendency towards convergence, where ideas across the board start to look more similar among the AI users.
That sounds exactly like that warning we heard earlier about creative fields potentially getting saturated with generic content.
It definitely points in that direction. But, and this is a really important but, there's a nuance here.
Okay.
While the average uniqueness went down, the maximum content novelty, the score of the most novel piece created by these adopters, actually increased in the first few months after they started using AI.
So wait, the average idea gets more similar, but the most original ideas get even more original. How does that work?
It suggests a kind of bifurcation. Maybe many users fall into using AI for more standard outputs, leading to that lower average. But a subset of artists, maybe the more exploratory ones, are using AI to push the boundaries, to reach genuinely new conceptual territories that were perhaps harder to reach before. The source called it an expanding but inefficient idea space. The potential for novelty grows, but not everyone is tapping into it effectively. Or maybe the tools themselves subtly guide towards the familiar.
Okay, that's complex. An expanding frontier, but maybe a crowded middle ground. What about the other type of novelty, visual novelty? The style.
That picture was unfortunately less nuanced. For visual novelty, both the average and the maximum levels decreased over time among the AI adopters.
Both decreased. So less unique styles overall, and fewer breakthroughs in new styles.
That's what the data indicates. Artists using AI tended to settle into a preferred visual style and didn't deviate much. This could be strongly influenced by how prompt engineering works, you know. Once you figure out prompts that give you a consistent, high-quality look in a certain style, you tend to stick with it. It might inadvertently lead to a kind of formulaic approach.
Right. You find what works for getting that wow image and maybe stop experimenting as much with the fundamental look.
Exactly. And the sources suggest this could be pushing artists towards visual homogeneity, where everyone's work starts to look a bit samey aesthetically. Fewer distinct artistic signatures.
Okay, so this is a real paradox then. AI boosts your output, gets you more likes, maybe even helps some artists explore wilder ideas, but it also seems to gently nudge everyone towards similar themes and more strongly towards similar visual styles. It feels double-edged. So what does this actually mean for the human artist's role? Does it make our unique creativity less critical if the styles converge? Or does it change where our creativity matters most?
I think it strongly suggests the latter. Far from making human creativity obsolete, this data actually highlights where it becomes more crucial. Remember how the study found that artists exploring more novel ideas with AI, the ones pushing that maximum content and novelty boundary, tended to get more favorable evaluations, even if they weren't particularly original before using AI.
Yeah, you mentioned that.
That suggests that ideation proficiency, the ability to come up with truly original concepts, and having a refined artistic filter the skill to select and guide the AI towards compelling results, become absolutely paramount.
So it's less about the technical skill of execution, which the AI handles, and more about the quality of the initial idea and the judgment you apply.
Precisely. The human becomes the visionary, the director, the curator. AI automates the how, but the human drives the what and the why. You're manipulating concepts through prompt engineering, which fits that theory of blind variation and selective retention. The AI gives you lots of variations, maybe some blind ones you didn't expect.
And the human does the selective retention, picking the good stuff.
Exactly. Your ability to evaluate those outputs, to see the potential, to guide the process towards something coherent and aligned with your vision, that becomes the core creative act.
This connects to that interesting term, generative synesthesia, right? That idea of blending human exploration with AI's power.
Yes, that's the concept. It's about finding new workflows where human intuition guides the AI's generative power. It lets creatives maybe focus more energy on the meaning and the ideas they want to represent, rather than getting bogged down solely in the technical execution.
Shifting the creative focus.
And one more really interesting finding from that study, something that pushes back against the AI will destroy jobs narrative. They observed that AI adoption actually led to a more even distribution of favorites among the artists using it.
More even. So not just the star artists getting all the attention.
Right. It suggests AI might be helping to level the playing field a bit, maybe empowering artists who previously struggled for visibility. It hints at a potential for a more democratized, inclusive creative domain, rather than just making the rich richer, so to speak.
That's actually quite hopeful, a tool that potentially broadens access to recognition.
It's a fascinating possibility suggested by the data, yes. Challenges the simple narrative.
The learner's lens, AI and creativity in education and beyond.
Okay, we've talked professionals, we've looked at the data. Now let's shift focus to learners, particularly younger ones. How are students dealing with this explosion of AI in the creative space? What are their perceptions, their worries, their hopes?
Yeah, that's crucial how the next generation sees this. There was a revealing study done with secondary school students in South Australia. They participated in this 8-week program where they used a narrow AI, not like ChatGPT, but a more focused AI, to help them build a Mars rover and get specific feedback on their designs. Afterwards, researchers explored their perceptions of AI.
Okay, so hands-on experience with a specific AI tool. What came out of that?
4 key themes emerged. First, social factors. A lot of students expressed worry that AI would harm their social skills. Phrases like it would make people lack social wise or take away from real-life interaction.
The classic screen time fear may be amplified.
Possibly. They also seem quite skeptical about AI's abilities in complex, human judgment-heavy tasks, like flying a plane, often unaware that AI is already deeply involved in aviation. It showed a real gap in understanding what human-AI teaming actually looks like in the real world.
So a bit of fear and maybe some misconceptions about current capabilities.
Exactly. Second were affective factors, basically, their feelings about AI. It was pretty clear. Familiarity helps. Students who felt they understood what AI was were more comfortable using it. Those who were unsure felt less comfortable. It really supports the idea that a positive attitude and understanding encourages adoption.
Makes sense. The more you know, the less scary it seems.
Right. And they preferred transparency. Explainable AI builds trust. Systems that felt like a black box made them uneasy. Third, their technological factors, their actual understanding of the tech. It was quite limited for most. They often just equated AI with robots or computers, seeing it as very futuristic rather than something already woven into their daily lives through algorithms and social media, search engines, etc.
So not really grasping the narrow AI all around them.
Not generally, no. They tended to think of the sci-fi general AI. But fourth, and this is more positive, were the learning factors. Students did see potential for AI as a learning tool. They saw it helping with finding information quickly, supporting their ideas, even promoting global connections. And interestingly, they connected creativity itself with skills like time management and generating new ideas, seeing AI potentially helping them be more creative in their learning.
Okay, so a real mix there. Fear about social skills, limited understanding of the tech itself, but also seeing it as a potential learning aid and maybe even a creativity booster. It sounds like education about AI is desperately needed.
Absolutely. Not just teaching with AI tools, but teaching about what AI is, how it works, its limitations, its ethics. Bridging that knowledge gap seems critical.
Because they did see some creative potential, right? Even with their limited understanding.
Yes, and this was a key finding. Most students, despite their caution, believe that while AI might never truly match human creativity, their reasoning often being, well, humans made the AI, they did think it could help them develop their own creativity. One student put it really nicely. I think it can spark creativity, not replace it, but spark it.
Spark creativity. That's a great phrase. It captures that enabling potential, doesn't it? AI as a catalyst, not a competitor.
Exactly. It reframes the whole thing. Students felt AI could push them towards independent thinking, offer new ways to approach different situations. Like when they were troubleshooting their Mars rover, if the robot isn't working, they had to think out of the box to fix it. And the AI feedback might have prompted that kind of thinking.
So it could actually help combat that creativity slump we sometimes hear about, where kids become less imaginative as school gets more structured.
That's the potential, yes. By providing new stimuli, new challenges, maybe new ways to explore ideas, it could encourage more of that everyday personal creativity, what the researchers call mini-C or little c creativity, those small moments of insight and problem solving.
And this led the researchers to propose a new framework for thinking about AI in education based on an existing creativity model.
That's right. There's a well-known model called the 4C model of creativity. It ranges from mini-C, personal insights like a child's discovery, little c, everyday problem solving and creativity, up to pro C, professional level expertise, and big C, legendary field-changing contributions like Einstein or Picasso.
Okay, the four C's.
So the researchers propose a parallel 4AI model. They notice students often fixate on big AI, the super intelligent, maybe scary sci-fi AI, and they tend to overlook or undervalue mini AI and little AI, the everyday narrow AI tools they actually use, like the one in the Mars rover project or recommendation algorithms.
So focusing only on the Terminator AI and missing the helpful spell check AI?
Kind of, yeah. So the recommendation is clear. Education needs to focus on teaching for, with, and about AI, specifically highlighting these everyday mini and little AI applications. This helps demystify AI, addresses those misconceptions, and builds a more realistic, productive understanding of how these tools can actually support their learning and, yes, spark their creativity.
Makes a lot of sense. Focus on the practical reality, not just the Hollywood hype.
Hmm.
Outro. Okay, wow. We've covered a lot of ground at this deep dive into AI and creativity. We've seen how AI can seriously boost productivity, make artists produce more, and even increase how much their work is appreciated based on certain metrics. But we've also seen that paradox, the potential for homogenization, for ideas and styles to become more similar, even while some artists use it to push boundaries. And artists themselves, they're not reacting monolithically. Many are embracing AI as a powerful collaborator, a new tool, but they're doing it with open eyes, asking those tough questions about authorship, value, and the future of their craft.
The caution is definitely there alongside the excitement.
And then looking at students, we see this mix of fear, misunderstanding, but also this real hope that AI can be a spark for their own creativity, a partner in learning, if understood and used correctly.
Absolutely. And I think ultimately what this all boils down to for you, the listener, the learner, is that creativity isn't really being replaced here. It's being, redefined, maybe,
Right.
reshaped. AI can be an incredible amplifier. It can be like a coach, a collaborator, helping you get past creative blocks, opening up entirely new ways to express yourself. The really crucial takeaway, I think, from all these sources is not to see AI as just a shortcut or a crutch or something that replaces your own thinking. It's about using it as a collaborative agent, something that challenges you, complements your skills, and ideally enhances your human thinking. It's about harnessing it wisely, to amplify our humanity, not let it overshadow it.
Amplify our humanity. I like that. So as AI becomes inevitably more and more woven into our creative lives, this whole exploration leaves us with a pretty provocative thought, doesn't it? If AI gets to the point where it can flawlessly execute almost any artistic vision you can describe, does the real measure of human creativity then shift? Shift completely away from the technical skill and become almost entirely about the what. What do we choose to imagine? What unique spark? What idea do we bring? And maybe most importantly, why do we choose to bring that specific thing into the world? What kind of creativity do you want to nurture personally in a world where machines can do so much of the execution?
It really forces us to think about what makes our contribution unique.
Yeah. Maybe AI's biggest gift isn't the art it creates, but how it pushes us to understand ourselves and our own creativity better. To see it less as a competition against the machine and more as this deeply personal, ongoing journey of imagination and expression makes you think.